Chapter 627. When Hu Liancheng finally arrived at the foot of the mountain, 2 of the gunmen who had surrendered had already rushed to the cabin to clean up. At this time, the cabin was on fire. The branches were crackling and warm, isolating the wind and snow from the outside world. "Mr. Hu, there's water here and some food." When the 2 saw Hu Liancheng, they hurriedly went up to him. In fact, when they saw Hu Liancheng running madly towards the back of the mountain, a few people also followed. But they all lost track of Hu Liancheng. The 2 of them came down early to prepare. It seemed that their decision was right. Hu Liancheng saw that the ground beside the fire was covered with clothes. Clearly, one of them had taken it off. He looked at that person, nodded, and then put Jian Yun down. It was also at this moment that Hu Liancheng realized that Jian Yun's fists were tightly clenched. Her teeth were also biting his collar. Her head was full of cold sweat. Clearly, she was starting to feel pain again. But she was afraid that he would be worried, so she held it in and did not say a word. Hu Liancheng's heart ached. He could only hug her tightly. If possible, he would rather share her pain. When this wave of pain passed, Jian Yun, who was already weak to begin with, was about to collapse. "Mr. Hu, let Madam eat something to replenish her strength. My wife has given birth to a child for an entire day and night. Eating can increase her strength," a slightly older gunman suggested cautiously. Hu Liancheng looked up. The gunman thought he did not believe him. He quickly picked up the snack biscuit on the table and tore a piece of it and put it in his mouth. He then poured water from the kettle to express his sincerity. These gunmen were not stupid. They were just taking money to do things. Hu Chengfeng was no longer able to do it. Now that an even more powerful person had appeared, they would definitely choose a new owner. Hu Liancheng's eyes focused. He felt that the person in his arms was breathing steadily. He let go of her and whispered in her ear, "Eat something." The 2 gunmen quickly got up and retreated to the door. Their backs were facing them as they guarded the door. They had completely acknowledged Hu Liancheng as their master. Hu Liancheng saw Jian Yun nod, so he let go of her coat, which was already soaked in snow, and let her approach the fire. The chill on Jian Yun's body was dispelled, and she felt much more comfortable. She ate some compressed biscuits with Hu Liancheng's hand and rested for a while. She recovered some strength, and Hu Liancheng helped her dry her hair. Do you have a record of the interval and frequency of the pain?" Hu Liancheng saw that Jian Yun had recovered a little and felt a little relieved. "Yes." Jian Yun looked at Hu Liancheng as if she was curious why he knew this, but she still told him. But it was also this glance that Jian Yun found Hu Liancheng's face had a wound, and his left hand was badly mangled. "What happened to your hand?" Jian Yun's eyes suddenly widened. This was clearly not a wound caused by a sharp weapon, but more like an explosion. "Nothing. I stole the bomb from Ho Chengfeng and accidentally hurt him a little." "It's okay," Hu Liancheng said casually. He did not mention how dangerous the situation was at that time. If he was a second late, his hand and even his entire arm would be blown off. There might even be an even more serious situation. Take a rest. The weather is bad now. The helicopter might be stopped flying, but there is fire here. It will be discovered very soon." Hu Liancheng quickly changed the topic and comforted Jian Yun. But he was not sure. Hu Chengfeng must have made a complete arrangement to lure him here today. Otherwise, he would not have blown up all the roads as soon as he went up the mountain. Cheng Mu's had been delayed for so long and could not find them. He must have been affected by something. Although Hu Liancheng looked calm on the surface, he was actually more anxious than anyone else. He looked at Jian Yun in pain. It was even worse than the pain on his body. Moreover, he was worried that if this continued, Jian Yun's body would not be able to withstand it. "Wrap your hands first." Jian Yun grabbed Hu Liancheng's wrist. Looking at the black and bloody hand, tears could not stop falling. "Don't cry. My hand is really fine. Look." Hu Liancheng quickly made a grabbing gesture and rubbed his clothes. "It's just some gunpowder. It's not a serious injury." Jian Yun saw that Hu Liancheng's expression was normal, and then felt relieved. How did you get there alone?" "Where's Lin Lanlin?" Hu Liancheng had been searched when he entered the stone house at the top of the mountain. His phone was not on him. He had no way to contact the outside and could only wait here. Now that he had calmed down, he asked the question that concerned him the most. Hearing this, Jian Yun's brows suddenly knitted, and the scene from before suddenly flashed back to her mind. At that time, Lin Lanlin deliberately showed weakness and thought that she had gained her trust. Seeing that she was weak and could not walk and almost slipped, she went over and pretended to support her. But in the end, her hand reached into her pocket and snatched the pocket-sized gun that Hu Liancheng gave her to protect herself. At that time, Xian Yun finally understood that Lin Lanlin's ambition was actually so great. Lin Lanlin followed Hu Chengfeng and obviously knew many secrets of Hu family. She also knew the meaning of this ring. She might have already known that the ring was on Jian Yun's body. That was why Lin Lanlin deliberately wanted to get close to her. Back then, she wanted Jian Dongming to tell her about the ridiculous suggestion of a female servant and a husband. It was probably just a pretense. Everything was just to get this ring that could open up a huge amount of wealth. When Lin Lanlin laughed wildly and raised her gun at Jian Yun's mind went blank for a moment. It was because she realized that Lin Lanlin's usually pitiful and weak appearance was actually completely faked. She was so familiar with the posture of holding the gun. When she pulled the trigger, there was disdain and arrogance in her eyes. She said proudly, "Go to hell. I don't need to see you anymore." Then, there was a sound, but no bullets were shot out. Jian Yun was not hit either. Instead, Lin Lanlin cried out in pain and instantly fell into the snow. The hand holding the gun was blown to pieces and blood instantly dyed the snow under her body red. Lin Lanlin screamed desperately and rolled on the ground. She seemed to not understand why the barrel of the gun suddenly exploded. At that time, Jian Yun only watched this scene coldly. Actually, she knew that there was something wrong with this gun. Hu Liansheng had whispered to her when he gave her the gun. He really considered everything. Knowing that Jian Yun was pregnant, his reaction might not be that fast. Even if the gun was in her hands, it was very likely that it would be taken away. So he tampered with the gun and told Jian Yun that if it was taken away, he would let that person take it. Only when that person was seriously injured would Jian Yun have the chance to escape. After listening to Jian Yun's story, Hu Liancheng also had lingering fear. Then when I went over, Lin Lanlin already ran away. She took the ring. Jian Yun leaned into Hu Liancheng's arms. The warm fire mixed with the smell of his body made her feel incomparably at ease. The deep despair she felt when she fell into the snow earlier also dissipated. Don't worry, she can't escape. Hu Liansheng was not worried at all. Where is Hu Chengfeng and you? Jian Yun wanted to ask Shen Fangqi how she was now. She could probably guess. The reason Shen Fangqi indulged Hu Chengfeng so much was probably because of Hu Chengfeng's illness. She felt that she owed this son, so she unconditionally satisfied him. Hu Liancheng was silent for a moment. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly realized that Jian Yun's expression was not right. He hurriedly hugged her and asked, "Is it starting to hurt again?" "It hurts." Jian Yun only felt her vision turn black. This wave of pain was even more intense than before. Her abdomen seemed to have shrunk together. It was so painful that she cried out loudly. Her hands tightly grasped Hu Liancheng's arm, and her entire body curled up due to the pain. "Do bite me if it hurts." Hu Liancheng's heart ached so much that he was about to go crazy. He could only tightly hug Jian Yun and stuffed his hand into her mouth. He did not care if she bit him until he was badly mangled. "Mr. Hu!" The two gunmen guarding the door also stood up, with worry on their faces. Hu Liancheng had no time to care about them. At this moment, he was so anxious that smoke was almost coming out of his heart. He was only thinking about one thing. Jian Yun's 2 times of pain had been so short. Could it be that she was going to give birth soon? However, even if he knew how to give birth, he did not dare to give birth to her under such crude conditions. No. At this point, Jian Yun was the most important. If it was necessary, why not come and receive the baby? Hu Liancheng made up his mind and did not feel nervous. He waited for Jian Yun to regain some consciousness after the pain and told her his decision. Jian Yun was already in a daze from the pain and could not understand what Hu Liancheng was talking about. Very quickly, Jian Yun began to feel the pain again. Hu Liancheng asked the 2 people to go out and guard while he laid Jian Yun flat on the ground. He took off her pants that had long been soaked in blood and soaked in amniotic fluid, and made her bow her legs. The conditions were simple and crude. Hu Liancheng could only do what he had learned before step by step. Use more strength, Bao Yanran recalled later that night, when she came down from the helicopter in a blizzard. At the entrance of the shabby wooden house at the foot of the mountain, she saw 2 shivering men. When the 2 men saw her in a white coat, it was as if they had seen a cat of a mouse. Their eyes lit up and they quickly ran over. They pulled her and ran into the wooden house. Doctor, quickly go in. There's a child inside." Bai Yanran thought that the person might be Jian Yun and immediately became anxious. She did not wait for a few experts on the helicopter to come down and immediately rushed into the wooden house. Then, when she rushed in, she was dumbfounded. What kind of situation was this? Hu Liancheng was actually giving birth to Jian Yun. It was the most primitive way of giving birth. I see the head. Bao Yanran was only stunned for a moment and immediately took over. Her movements were professional and skilled. After a check, she cried out in surprise. Jian Yun, do your best. Use your strength. The child's head is about to come out. But Jian Yun already had no strength. She had been suffering all afternoon and had only eaten some compressed biscuits. Her physical strength could not keep up. Moreover, she felt so tired and painful. It was really as if she had been cut by a knife. The few experts behind also entered the wooden house. They discussed for a while and felt that the snow outside was too heavy, and it was not safe to go back now. Hence, the few of them quickly made arrangements, and this small wooden house became a simple delivery room. Jian Yun, there is chocolate and red cow here. Eat some and strengthen your physical strength. After persisting for so long, the baby will come out to meet you soon. It is so much to look forward to. Bao Yanran had the lowest qualifications. Once the few top obstetricians in the country came out, she automatically moved to the side and peeled off the chocolate to feed Jian Yun. She encouraged Jian Yun. I really look forward to it. The baby of you and Hu Liancheng must be super beautiful. That was what she said, but Jian Yun was really too tired. Even though she was mentally prepared, she did not expect that giving birth would be so painful. Every time it hurt, it was as if all the bones in her body had been crushed. There was probably no pain in the world that could compare to giving birth. This was life, a life that was hard to come by. Jian Yun, wake up and use force. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous for the child to be stuck. Bao Yanran saw that Jian Yun's eyes were hazy, and she was extremely anxious. After the experts came in, Hu Liancheng retreated to the side and held Jian Yun's hand tightly. When Jian Yun was in pain, he would put his hand or arm into his mouth for her to bite. At this time, seeing Jian Yun suddenly seem to have vented her anger, he was also anxious. Duo, can you sleep later? The fetal heart rate is unstable. We have to hurry. Bao Yanran leaned against Jian Yun's ear and kept cheering for her. Jian Yun was already in so much pain that she almost lost consciousness. All that was left in her head was a roaring sound. A white light flashed in front of her eyes and shook her head until she felt dizzy. She did not know what those doctors used on Jian Yun, but she suddenly felt the pain that had tortured her for a long time disappear. Her entire body felt comfortable, as if every pore was breathing. Because it was too comfortable, she suddenly wanted to sleep, but her ears were too noisy. It was so noisy that she could not fall asleep. Jian Yun really wanted to open her eyes and use her strength, according to what they said, but she was really too tired and weak. She did not even have the strength to lift her arm, so how could she use her strength to give birth? In the haze, Jian Yun vaguely heard a commotion. Someone cried out in her ear. Even if she fell asleep, she could feel that tense atmosphere. What's wrong? What's wrong? Did something bad happen? President 2, the fetal heart rate has dropped. If it can't be regenerated, we can only dissect the palace. Otherwise, Madam will be in danger. Dissect the palace? No. Jian Yun wanted to wave her hand and refuse. She was most afraid of pain. Usually, when a knife cut a small cut on her finger, she would be silent for a long time. It was impossible to imagine that the knife cut her stomach layer by layer. This time, in order to have a smooth birth, not only did she control her diet, but she also frequently exercised. The doctors all said that she was in good health and there was no problem with a smooth birth. Furthermore, she had been in pain for so long. It was not worth it to receive another knife now. No, I don't want to take a knife. Jian Yun struggled to open her eyes and screamed in panic. Okay, we don't want to be stabbed. Then Duo, you have to exert more strength. Just a little more, and it will be fine. Hu Liancheng did not know what he was feeling right now. He, who had never liked children, was actually looking forward to the arrival of the crystal of love between him and Jian Yun. What would he be like? At this moment, Jian Yun did not know where she got the strength from. Perhaps she was afraid of being stabbed. She exerted her strength. Puff! The child who had been stuck in his body for a long time was pushed out. It's born! It's born! Boy, 6 pounds and 6 tails. At that moment, a loud and clear cry of a baby suddenly burst out from the wooden house. It shook the heavens and the earth. In this snowy night, it was as if it was announcing that he had gone through a lot of difficulties to be born into this world. Outside the wooden house, Ouyang Bicheng, who had personally flown a helicopter to search for Jian Yun, heard this cry and his hanging heart finally relaxed. Cheng Mu's also heaved a heavy sigh of relief and wiped the sweat that was rushing out of his head. Inside the wooden house, Jian Yun felt relaxed all over. This was the feeling of unloading goods. It was too comfortable. It was so comfortable that she really could not take it anymore. In her final thoughts, she only saw the doctor carrying the crying Qi over for her to see. He even made her and Chu stick their faces together. When Jian Yun woke up again, she was already in the hospital. She slept very soundly and very comfortably. When she woke up, she only felt relaxed. It was a comfort she had never felt before. There was someone beside her who was still lying on the side of her bed. Jian Yun turned her eyes to look and saw that the man was lying on the side of the bed with his eyes closed. He seemed to be asleep. He had a very heavy shadow in front of his eyes. Jian Yun quietly looked at the man's sleeping face. Her dark eyes were so thick that they could not melt away her attachment. She wanted to reach out to touch his face but could not raise her hand. Only then did Jian Yun realize that her hand was tightly held by the man. Even in his sleep, Hu Liansheng was still alert. When Jian Yun moved, he immediately noticed it. His eyelashes trembled. He opened his eyes and was caught off guard. He suddenly bumped into a pair of warm and loving eyes. Hu Liansheng seemed to be stunned for a moment before he fell into wild joy. "Duoer, you're awake!" Jian Yun felt mixed emotions in her heart when she saw the undisguised joy on the man's face. Everything that had happened in the past was still vivid in her mind. His good to her was indescribable with words, but she was easily incited to suspect him. "Liansheng, I'm sorry," Jian Yun softly said. She was not a stone heart. She saw everything he did for her. It was just because of her laughable pride that she could not let go of her pride to accept him again. Until the moment of life and death, when she was alone in the snow, she suddenly thought it through. She only felt how ridiculous her stubbornness was. At that moment, she secretly swore that if she had another chance in this life, she must tell him how much she loved him. How much she wanted to slowly grow old with him. "Duoer, the one who wants to say sorry is me. It's all because I didn't protect you well and made you suffer so much." Hu Liansheng still had a lingering fear. He didn't dare to imagine that if Hu Chengfeng had insisted on not letting Jian Yun leave, he would have been bound. If Hu Chengfeng had gone mad, he and Jian Yun might not have been able to escape. As for Lin Lanlin's side, Hu Liansheng already knew that Hu Chengfeng would not be so kind and asked Lin Lanlin to help Jian Yun leave. That was why he was on guard. At that time, he gave the gun to Jian Yun. He also deliberately let Lin Lanlin see it. He did not expect that it was precisely this move that saved Jian Yun's life. Otherwise, it would be inconvenient for Jian Yun to move around with a big belly. If Lin Lanlin wanted to sneak attack, she would be able to easily succeed on that bumpy road. Jian Yun stared deeply at Hu Liansheng's clearly haggard, handsome face. Thousands of words turned into 3 words in the end. "I love you." At this moment, Hu Liansheng was overwhelmed by emotions. He had no choice but to lower his head to cover up his red eyes. "I love you. I love you. I love you too. Duo, I love you." The two of them were shocked by these 3 words. Hu Liansheng reached out and hugged Jian Yun. A sense of happiness tightly wrapped around him. It was as if his heart had been touched by honey. "Where's the baby? Where's Chu?" Jian Yun suddenly remembered that she had just given birth to a baby. There was a small bed next to her bed, but it was empty at the moment. She panicked. Grandma just carried her out to feed her milk. You slept for 2 days and he was hungry. When Hu Liansheng mentioned Qi, his handsome face became soft. He had never thought that he would be a father one day. Thinking of this, Hu Liansheng looked at Jian Yun with guilt once again. Thank you. Thank you for insisting on giving birth to him. What I did in the past was really too much of a bastard. I don't blame you." Jian Yun shook her head. After all this, she had thought it through. She did not believe what he said when he forced her to start the birth. But now that she thought about it, he should not lie to her. In fact, Jian Yun did not want to go through 2 hurdles before. One was to see Hu Liansheng in the hotel suite with other women. The other was the matter of him forcing her to abort the baby. After watching the surveillance of the hotel, she knew that Hu Chengfeng had set them up. However, the fact that he had forced her to abort the baby was still in her heart. Later on, after Hu Liansheng pursued her again and explained the misunderstanding, she also thought that if the child was gone that day, would she still forgive him? This was the knot in her heart that had tortured Jian Yun for many days. It was only when she saw him in the stone house at the top of the mountain that Jian Yun felt as if she was enlightened. She loved him. What she wanted was him from the beginning to the end. Moreover, this child did not lose even after experiencing so many hardships. It was enough to show that nothing could break them apart. Therefore, her struggles were all groundless guesses. Are you willing to forgive me? Happiness came too suddenly. Hu Liancheng was a little confused when he saw Jian Yun bear the pain with her own eyes and give birth to the child. The moment the child was born, he saw Jian Yun's smile seem to be glowing. She had suffered so much pain and was still holding on when she was exhausted. She just wanted to look at the baby. This hard-earned child was the continuation of the bloodline that had merged with their bones and blood. Hu Liancheng suddenly felt a lump in his throat. Can we talk about this later? I'm so hungry right now. My ears are ringing. Jian Yun did not answer Hu Liancheng. She did not deliberately ignore Hu Liancheng. She was really too hungry. Furthermore, she felt that she could only rely on 1 or 2 sentences to answer this question. She could not explain clearly, so she needed to find some time to sit down and talk. Actually, Jian Yun also had a small secret in her heart. That day in the heavy snow, she thought that she was going to die like this. However, in her despair, she saw a person rushing over like he did not care about his life. The vast and heavy snow could not stop him. His expression was so anxious, as if he was looking for the most precious lost treasure. At that moment, Jian Yun suddenly understood that her so-called love for him was merely because she was moved by his love for her. If she had to compare, she loved him far less than he loved her. It was also at that moment that Jian Yun swore in her heart that if she could survive, she would definitely treat him well with the rest of her life. When Hu Liancheng heard that, he was obviously stunned for a moment. Then, he said with a face full of regret, "I'm sorry. I was so happy that I forgot that you had slept for 2 days. I asked them to bring you food." After he finished speaking, he picked up his phone and instructed someone to bring food in. Jian Yun also saw Hu Liancheng's hands were wrapped in gauze. "How are your hands?" Jian Yun asked. She remembered that day in the cabin. She saw his hands were injured by the explosion, but only one of his hands was injured. Why were both his hands wrapped in gauze now? "I'm fine," Wang Yao said. Hu Liancheng said casually, obviously not wanting to say more. "Let me shake the bed up for you. I want to sit up." Jian Yun was also a little tired from lying down, so she remembered. But as soon as she moved, she felt her vision turn black. Her hands were soft and powerless. She only supported herself a little and fell down again. "Be careful." Hu Liancheng quickly reached out and wrapped his arms around Jian Yun. He took advantage of the opportunity to sit beside the bed and let her lean into his arms. "You just gave birth and lost a lot of blood. Your body is weak. Don't move and lie down more."